Beach. We're a consulting firm, and I live in Walnut Creek, California. So I'm pretty active in our San Francisco Bay section under CWA. But prior to getting involved in the student design competition for CWA in California, I helped run our national competition at the WEFTEC level. So we'll get into what that means a little bit here before, but this is something I'm extremely passionate about, and it's one of our biggest goals to try to expand and provide this opportunity for more folks and students in California. And so thank you so much for helping join. And can you please be our advocates for how great this competition is in the future? All right. So I guess I'll introduce this a little bit. So I just mentioned the word WEFTEC. If you're not familiar, there's an organization called Water Environmental Federation, and they are a international organization based out of Alexandria, Virginia. And they work hard on the wastewater sector and water environment sector of our industry to help, do everything from things with policy to shine light on important issues, to share experience. It's a really large conference where all these people in our industry are coming together to help improve our industry as a whole and make more connections as professionals. Now, CWA, California Water Environmental Association, is a not-for-profit public benefit organization with over 10,000 plus professional organizations. So we have the WEF level at the highest, kind of like one, and then there are a lot of different member organizations that are either states or regions or several states kind of grouped together that are under that branch, under the umbrella of what Water Environmental Federation, WEF, is. And so this competition is organized and put on and sponsored by the California Water Environmental Association, the California branch of this. So this is our organization that focuses on wastewater policy and issues that are coming to our state. And so our goal with the student design competition is to help get students, one, exposed to these conferences and to these organizations, and two, we want you to give you an opportunity to present your work on a real world design experience. And we want to provide an opportunity that allows you to share your skills and interests and with other students around the world, and also get to see what they have done. And so what this competition does is it challenges students to evaluate several alternatives. We also, are looking for a developed and comprehensive design, not something that's like partially finished. And then there's like, you forgot to put, paint the back door so no one sees it, but, provides an overall comprehensive design, and then and present a solution that meets the requirements of a problem statement. So is it something that's clear defined as we're trying to solve this, and then your presentation and everything shows how you did solve that. Those are the components that we're ultimately looking for with this competition. Now, I guess they're as great as it is for us to like see your presentations, and as amazed as I always am by the effort that students are able to put into this competition. The real benefit of this is for you all, and this is one of the biggest reasons why we put on this competition. So one, you get experience to do real world design experience in our industry, which is something you don't always get to do, and you get a way to promote it and share that. You get to help improve and demonstrate your writing skills. This competition is not just a presentation competition; there's also a design report element to this. Also, by participating in this competition, and if you win this competition, you get a chance to go to WEFTEC, you get to be surrounded and around a whole bunch of other individuals and peers who are at the same moment in life that you are. And you immediately, before you really even start your career, get to build up a network of other really awe-inspiring water professionals in our industry from all around the world and the United States. Also, it's a way for you to get involved in your member organizations or WEF, because you kind of get an idea of an avenue that if I did want to be involved later on and volunteer, or if my boss keeps telling me I need to get involved in some organization, a volunteer organization, you already have that avenue in there. You've been involved, you've seen it, and you can speak to the experiences that you had through our competition or hopefully the WEFTEC competition. And then again, I just said WEFTEC, but if you win our competition, it gives you a chance to go attend it. I remember my first experience going to this conference with like 22,000 people, everything was really intimidating, but I got my experience through the student design competition. So while this extremely intimidating conference going on. I went to a room with a whole bunch of people that were my age and similar, all sharing the same experiences. And then because I participated and was involved with the student design competition, there was a lot of value that others saw. So if I had just mentioned to anyone at this conference that I was there for that, their eyes would open up and they would immediately engage with me. So it's just a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. So now I want to speak a little bit about what are our two categories of our competition. And these are set, but there can kind of be blurred lines between things because our industry is always changing. And what we've originally thought of as clear-cut wastewater, clear-cut water environment is now kind of blending through water reuse, watershed management, and all these other areas and solutions that we're meeting in this industry. But for the sake of this competition, it is split into two categories. And for our competition, we will only select one team per competition. This is a rule created by the WEFTEC competition. If they just let every team be sent as possible, the competition would probably last like 4 days, and we would never get through it at WEFTEC. So for that purposes, each member association, we are CWA, the member association, are able to send one team per competition. So if we do have 2 teams participate at least one of these competitions, we're able to then bring those 2 teams to WEFTEC. So I think I have some, yeah. So wastewater, what is the wastewater competition? You have anything from like hydraulic capacity design, you have collection systems that are bringing it to your wastewater, you have any additions to an existing wastewater treatment process. I've seen things such as like nutrient removal, replacement projects, to new headworks, anything that's kind of part and true to a wastewater treatment plant. Anything they do with biosolids handling, any like dewatering methods or nutrient handling, products like that. And then also any type of process optimization. Now, I guess I will highlight this process optimization. This still needs to be a design project. Sometimes when we think about how can we get the best phosphorus removal or something like that, we tend to focus on the research element of what that project would be. But this would be more like, okay, you did that process thinking, but now how do you implement that into your project? How do you show that as a real world design, tangible project that's not just a research paper that's going to sit around on a shelf and be read by a few people? It's an actual concept for a real design. So that's what we'd be looking for there. It can be any of these. It could be as long as it's kind of related to wastewater. Now, the water environment competition is a little bit harder to define because you don't really have like a fence or connections of collection systems that are connected to it. It can be anything from stormwater management design, like your best practices, your green infrastructure, your low impact development, water reuse. And now that's again one of those kind of blurred lines. But as long as it's kind of generally water reuse outside of the treatment of it, then it wouldn't be considered wastewater. But I don't want to confuse you, so I won't focus too much on that. We can help guide you if you have questions on where would your project qualify in this competition. And then we have like wetland construction and distribution treatment systems as well. The other thing I will note here is I did not say drinking water systems. Drinking water in our industry is held by a lot of the involvement in our industry is handled by another organization called America Water Works Association. Their acronym in this industry, we love our acronyms, is AWWA. And that's why in this WEFTEC competition, in the WEF and CWA competition, we don't focus on drinking water projects because it's just not going to be represented at this industry, and it's not kind of where this organization has the sector that they deal with. So just know that there are ways those can maybe be part of a water environment, but if it's just a straight up drinking water project, it won't qualify or be able to go to this event because there is no category for that. So I guess to speak to the WEFTEC competition, it's a pretty unique experience just because it really is a rare opportunity to be around so many students from all over the United States and the world. We've had students in the past compete from Singapore. We have quite a few Canadian participants. We have those coming from Mexico, Costa Rica, and just kind of really all over the US. But one thing I will point out onto this, we've been growing on it, but our West Coast representation has been lacking. And it's not anything to do with any individual or anything. It's just that over time, this competition has grown and it's gotten a lot of support from members being involved in the national organization, I would say it's in the East Coast. But it's our goal and it's our responsibility to help grow this competition in the West Coast. And just attending this event and everything is just really helping us do that. And so hopefully in the future, we'll be able to get more dots coming on from the West Coast side of things. But first, it starts at our level. So I mentioned this through talking through it, but basically the way the competition works is each member association, you can see that these are kind of split around the country. The different colors represent the different two types of competitions, but member associations kind of hold over a region, and they all hold their own individual competitions like we are going to hold. And then the winners of those competitions all come together for the large international student design competition in water, wastewater, and water environment. And there's a winner for each category. So our competition, to speak to it a little bit, our competition will match the guidelines of the international student design competition. We want to build our basis off of that format so that you aren't having to shift your approach or shift the work that you do to compete in our competition to go compete at WEFTEC. And we will actually, for the winner of our two teams, provide financial support for your teams to fly out to WEFTEC and attend. So that burden is not on you. Your only burden is you have to do the work to do the competition and write a paper that we have to read. But other than that, in order to go to these opportunities, this is one of our crucial steps in what we believe is super important for your development and getting you involved in our industries by getting you out there. And we are able to do that through this competition. And so that's something we're able to do. Additionally, I don't think it is on, or it might be on here. Our competition will be held virtually. We are a pretty large state, and it can be tough to travel as a student. So our CWA competition will be held virtually. And there's kind of two components to this. One is the oral presentation. We're going to keep our presentation to 20 minutes. Just note that WEF has changed it to 15 minutes, but that's we'll go over that with the winners of our competition. And then you'll have a 20 or 10-minute Q&A period. Your presentations must be provided to us in PowerPoint form. While it can be cool to be all creative and come up with another form of media out there, it's a lot easier for our team to analyze and look through. And also in this kind of virtual environment, there's a lot of other risks that come to stuff working when we go outside of that. So we are looking for a PowerPoint presentation. In addition to the oral presentation that participants will do, there will also be a written report. For this, it's essentially, you can think of it as a preliminary engineering report. And we're looking for about a max of 20 pages. Anything more than that is too much for us to review. And you should be able to summarize and hit your points and prove how your design meets several alternatives, met your project's your scope, you hit your point, should be able to be done within 20 pages, or else it's just going to be a lot of rambling. And yeah, so I'll hit one more on this. It's not meant to be a research project or a literature review. And there's a lot of projects out there that even could be on the guidelines, but if the approach is taken, or on the fence, but if the right approach is taken to how you demonstrate your views and other things, it can qualify as a design project. But if you do have questions on that, please reach out to myself or Megan on this. All right, so in a way, the project that you're working on is like a capstone project. And I would be guessing that a few of you from UC Riverside, and most likely this is the way that you are doing it. Several schools could be different. But we're looking for something that's like kind of at the level of like a senior or graduate engineering capstone course or project. That it isn't just a small component of a class. It took more than that. It took a good amount of work together to come up to a solution and present it. And then you are allowed, and almost in a way expected, to work with advisors, professors, or even industry professionals and consultants. Now, you can't have a consultant do your work for you, but all the time in our industry, we are reliant on collaboration with others in our industry, and it's a key component to us finding the next best design solutions. Very often we think in our own silos, and we think that we need to get our support through our own silos, but there are ways that you can reach out, but it must be your own work, and the consultant cannot present to it. So if a consultant is really smart, they know how it works, and then you go to present on it, it's clear that you don't really actually understand what you were presenting on it because someone else did the work, that would not be good. We wouldn't expect that, but just know that there are resources that you can use, even now. So take advantage of that if you can, but just make sure it's your own work. And you are expected to work together as a team. You're not required to, but I would recommend when you present to have multiple presenters and not just have one person share while your rest of your team sits and looks on. But you can, it's up to you how you choose to present. We do have a maximum at the national competition. We're not gonna limit it, but at this point, but usually and typically student design groups are ranged like from 4 to 6. At the WEFTEC competition, I believe only 4 students are allowed to present at a time. I have seen one person change the slides because they were part of the team, but they could only have 4. But just note when we go to WEFTEC, the amount of presenters can only be is limited to 4 at a time. And then you also, just make sure you use appropriate citations and everything. These reports are to be reviewed by the people who are around reports in our industry and other things. And we're just looking to see that you're providing the right citations and appropriate references when needed. So eligibility. The kind of the big one is you need to be a member of our organization. Luckily to you, being a student, it has a lot of perks in that you have our student membership for WEF and CWA is only $20. And you are able to do this. I don't think we have a link on here, but if you just search CWA student membership, it will basically be one of the first links that comes up. If you have any additional questions to this, you can always reach out to me or Megan. We would love to help you get involved with this. Also, I guess here we say the maximum of 4 team members are permitted to present, but you can have up to 8 students in your team. So there is that. I've never seen more than 8 students, but yeah, on a team. But just note that the presenters it's limited to 4. And then the first place team from each competition is expected to participate in the student design competition at WEFTEC in New Orleans this year in October 2024. Now, if you have a group member that had something come up and other things, we could work with that. But if you are participating in our competition and we select you, we expect that you would be going to this event. We're investing a lot of time and volunteer hours to provide these opportunities, and we really want to help grow this competition on the West Coast. So if we do have a team that wasn't willing to do that, it would essentially waste a lot of the efforts of volunteers and growth in this industry, especially among students and young professionals. And lastly, the coolest benefit is that WEFTEC, which can cost anywhere between like $300 all the way up to thousands of dollars to attend, you as a student are able to attend this event for free. So registration to this event is amazing. And by chance, if you are not involved in the student design competition, you're thinking, but you think that you would be in New Orleans in October 2024 and you are still a student, no, it's free to attend the event. You would just need to figure out lodging and your food. But it's pretty amazing that WEF does that because it's not really no one else can really get a free admission to it. I'll speak a little bit to this. We have some pretty great volunteers who are going to help judge this. People who are in our industry, people who are excited about young growth of our young professionals and our students. But report wise, they're looking for the technical prowess of it. That's really where you establish how you came up with your design and the technical elements of what you came up with. And then also just in general, like appearance and structure. In our industry, if I were to hand off a paper to a client that looked really messy, they wouldn't want to read it. They would be like, "What the heck? Why am I paying you?" So appearance and structure can be incredibly important, and it will distract from what you're actually trying to convey if it's not done well. When it comes to the presentation, we're looking at content, we're looking at the organization of it, we're looking at your delivery and effectiveness of communicating your message. We're looking at how you handle the discussion when we ask you questions. How well can you support your arguments or hit the point that we meant to hit or asking you to hit. Additionally, kind of like the supporting documentation, a report that has a lot of stuff about treatment that just has zero reference to anything. Like, is that credible? Like, how can I know that this was done with intent and technical prowess? And so those are the kind of the general elements that we're looking for in these two parts of this competition. Additionally, there is a guideline, a student design competition. Megan, would we be able to provide that in an email out, or is that available? Where's the best place for students to find this?
The WEF guidelines?
Yes, the WEF one. Have we provided it to them at any point, or can we send it through an email with
Yeah,
a link?
I can send it through an email. I'll put it in the chat as well. And we also will load them onto the CWEA Student Design Competition webpage as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Megan. So I spoke a little bit to it, but I like to provide this. I think there's sometimes we ask a lot on folks and don't always give them a good reason and what our goals and things that we're looking at. But in my opinion, I've been involved with this competition since 2019. I've talked to judges about what they liked and what they haven't liked, both at the CWA level as well as the international level. And some of the points that are summarized on this slide. So goal, there students we want to be able to see that you work together as a team to come up with a recommendation and that you set yourself a goal. And even if it's sometimes teams will have a goal and it's maybe on page 20 of their written report, but they don't ever state it and they don't state it until maybe the end. Set up your goal ahead of time. Let your audience know what it is that you're going to share to them, what you are going to execute on, what you're going to ultimately come to a conclusion on throughout your report or your presentation. And then I've already hit it a few times, but I'll say it again. It should not be a study, research project, or literature review, but that doesn't mean there can't be components of it. To help support elements of your project, you can totally include these elements in there. But the ultimate recommendation of your project shouldn't be that we should start looking at this MABR method in the future because it can have higher percents of phosphorus. See how that is different than an actual, here's a basin that we came up to meet phosphorus removals. Just make sure that you're making it to a real world project, tangible project that can be built. Statement of your design problem. It's just, again, along with goals and other things, you would be amazed at how often this is left out. Be clear and concise is what you're trying to do, because when we're judging, we are looking to say, did they accomplish and meet their design problem statement? If I don't see it, how can I judge it? Discussions of alternative evaluations. If things like design matrices or going into detail on a few different alternatives, sharing what works, what doesn't work, is a pretty important part of our industry. And, that is something that we would like to see that you've done and demonstrated through your work. You can be creative in how you show that. There's not one way to show that, though. And then lastly, it's just description of recommended design solution. What is your goal that you accomplished? What is the design problem that you met? We speak to what it is that your recommendation came from and in detail it. Provide a cost evaluation, a clear recommendation of action, and even possibly in a way is you're providing a basis for design. We understand that these projects could not just go out the door as is, but a good basis of design helps set up the success and pathway for a project to succeed. So something that's able to hit all the key components and provide a clear direction for someone to pick that up and go with is a great basis of design. If you don't have, or if you already took I guess you can take a screenshot of this. Also, we will have this available for you through other resources. But this is our current timeline. So coming up on March 4th, we are asking for teams to submit a one-page problem statement to CWA. As said before, Megan is the primary contact for that. So please, excuse me, please provide that to Megan. You can also CC me as well, but Megan is our primary contact for this. And then April 25th, we're asking for teams to submit their written reports to us, CWA, again, Megan and myself, by noon. And then on May 1st, we as a member organization are required to let WEF know that who we plan to have send, basically how many teams we're going to be sending. And then on May 11th, 8:30 a.m., CWA will be holding our virtual competition. And we're really excited to see you there. Beyond that, we will get more into detail in this with our other with our winners. But kind of summarize is you'll have a few components and get deadlines to meet with this national competition. As a member organization, we can help support that, help be a liaison between that. But ultimately, you're going to need to provide essentially like a one-page report, an abstract or executive summary to them, as well as upload your presentation and report to be reviewed. The reports are read and judged like prior to the competition itself, because we need our judges to know and understand what the projects are about. But other than that, I'm going to keep going on to this. I guess some frequently asked questions would be like, do I need to be an engineer, or is there a specific position or not major that you might have? But the answer is no. In reality, there's a lot of different areas that work in our water industry. It just, as long as it meets the guidelines of the project there before. So there's no specific major or anything that you need to put in. And then, how do I get to WEFTEC? I mentioned it earlier, but we will sponsor you if you win our competition to be able to go to the international competition. And then, there isn't one set problem statement out there. Some member associations out there will do this. For California, we leave it open to what you have available to you. So you can each address your own problem statement through your report and presentation. And then just that last one, the maximum of 14 members presenting. We don't want to have 5 participate and then all of a sudden you go to WEFTEC and then one has to sit out. So we're going to match that requirement that the International Student Design Competition has. And as we mentioned it before, there are guidelines. If I want to learn more as a leader, how this competition works and how we can set students up, that's where I'm going. So to you have that resource in your hands that you can actually see what it is in more detail that we're looking for. And I'll put this back up on here again, but I guess we'll just go ahead and open it up to questions for the team here, or for the participants.
Hi, can I add something
Go for
before the questions? Yeah, there was a lot of information just presented here, and it may seem very, very daunting, but just recognize that what you are probably, your bottom line is you need to provide a paper and then a presentation. Your paper will most likely be very similar in structure than what you're doing for your capstone project. You'll just need to look at the guidelines that we have on what we like to see, and compare them what you've done with your capstone project, and add, make sure you check all the boxes. So it's not like you're writing a completely different report, because I know you guys are in school and you have a lot of workload now. Just know that your capstone is very similar to what we require for the report. So it's going to be just tweaking and whatnot. That I didn't want to have all this presented and it appeared to be a very daunting task to put out a paper. So you guys will be close if you complete your capstone project in terms of what we require for the paper. So I just want to kind of help you with that and just relieve you that you're not that far away.
Thanks, Rich. That's a really good point. I think maybe one thing I'll add on to that is that while it could be a little bit extra work to adjust those papers, everything, I think there's a lot of value that you as students gain. I was really lucky in this last week to be up in Portland for a conference within our organization. It's called the Young Professionals WEF AWWA YP Summit. And I met a participant from UC Riverside that had competed in the competition, and she was sharing how it was a little bit intimidating because it's such a well-established competition, that UC Riverside was a little bit blind going into it because they were a brand new participant. She was even talking about having frantic calls during the presentation while she was seeing another school that was a little bit more familiar. And you may think like, well, we're not able to do this. Well, I don't know if we have the capability. Maybe we might not be the best suited to win, but ultimately that's not going to actually be the most important thing to it, because what was amazing is that this person who participated went through a wonderful experience of both participating in ours, but then getting to go to WEFTEC and making connections. And now she's doing really well at a full-time job for a utility in Southern California, is getting to go to amazing conferences and surround ourselves by great leaders who are young in our industry. And I think that's really what the value is in participating in this competition. For a little bit extra work, you can really expand your network and be kickstarted into a wastewater career. Hopefully we can get you. Us water nerds really need help and support for years to come. So I just wanted to share that there is a lot of value that you can gain participating in this competition. And that's really ultimately why WEF has organized this. It's not to be a prestigious competition. It's to get students involved in that opportunity to participate. That's really our highest and most important goal. All right. Megan, could we maybe just like end the recording for questions in case people would feel scared about asking a
Sure.
question that will be recorded?
Sure.